Hey there, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Cassandra Tyndall Astrology Podcast. Today, I'm really excited to share with you some of the astrological features of June that I'm describing as benefic bliss. That is the arrival of Venus in Taurus, and that happens on the 6th, 7th of June. And then we'll also have the big one, Jupiter, arriving in Cancer. That happens in the north on the 9th, and here in the south, it'll be the early hours of June 10. So, welcome if you're new. If you like this kind of astrology content, do please subscribe, whether you're watching on YouTube or you're listening on a podcasting platform. If you've been here before, welcome back. It's really great to see you here. So, benefic bliss. I think the idea of this is so well deserved and much anticipated. Let's face it, both of our benefics, Venus being the lesser benefic and Jupiter being the greater benefic, have not been in their best conditions on astrological paper for quite some time now. Firstly, we've had the planet Jupiter being in the sign of its detriment since May of last year. So, I mean, that certainly has a lot of qualities and features that aren't necessarily all bad. But when Jupiter is visiting the home of Gemini and Mercury, we are sort of struggling around the technicalities, the philosophy, and sort of joining the pieces together, keeping your eye on the big picture. Jupiter in general is just not performing its best blessings under the influence of the sign of Gemini. Then, of course, we have Venus. So Venus has not long recovered from a what feels like a forever retrograde in its position of detriment, which is the sign of Aries. So Venus has been touring Aries since February, and that's because of the retrograde period that Venus went through. Yes, there was a break in the tour of Aries, and that was while Venus retrograded back into Pisces in very late March and throughout April. That said, Venus was in its sign of exaltation, still retrograde, still conjoined Saturn, mixed up with eclipses, Mercury retrogrades, and all of the things. And then, of course, Venus has returned to Aries, but now she's also co-present with Saturn again. So, so far, the beginning of 2025 has been a series of rough patches from the planets where we do expect blessings, where we do expect benefits, where we do expect things to, that idea of the sun, warm upon your face, the wind at your back, and the road rising up to meet you. Those kind of ideas have been, at best, a stretch to try and reach to, and at worst, perhaps almost bereft. That all starts to change. That will change tomorrow as of recording it, and that is Venus's return home, her home sign of Taurus, which would be probably her preferred domicile because Venus is of the night sect and Taurus is a night sign or a yin or feminine sign, whereas Libra is a diurnal or day sign. So Venus will return home to Taurus just after she makes a sextile connection to Jupiter from Aries to Jupiter in Gemini. So it's almost this idea of Venus and Jupiter getting together and saying, hey, we've had our differences. We've been sweating the small stuff maybe for a little bit too long. I've been wielding my sword and I don't want to fight anymore. And Jupiter says, well, yeah, maybe I've been overthinking this and let's, find a way to work things out. So this aspect is actually perfecting as I record this. So this might be symbolic of a peace agreement of some description. Maybe it's this idea, let's agree to disagree. Let's just put that behind us and move on. We've fought our battles, we've uh, traversed the hard roads. Let's just look forward to the oasis, the promised land that we've been searching for so long. So coming to the end of a rough cycle, it's kind of let's extend some olive branches. and even the sextile itself is an interesting aspect because it's sort of this, for me, it feels like an agree to disagree type of aspect. There we go, a kitty sighting. If you're watching the video, that's Kevin. Um, so it is this, there still needs an encouragement. It's a sextile is a aspect of ease and flow, but it is still requiring a little bit of a push or a bit of encouragement or a little bit of goadedness to it. Needs a little bit of a come on, you can do it type of thing. So Venus is home after her little sextile with Jupiter. And so what I find with Venus in Taurus is it may not always be a case of knowing what she wants, but it's definitely knowing what she does not want. And so she likes what she likes, and that is what it is. I'm a native of Venus and Taurus, so I can definitely, I'm not always the most experimental of people, but if I give it a go, it's probably, and I like something, I will stick to it. So we are fans of familiarity, of comfort, and something that's stable and enduring. And I think of Venus being the planet of the good stuff, of the wine flowing, the table filled with grapes and dates and fruits, the kind of Roman type of feast. And Venus will often symbolize the things that we don't want to end. No one wants the party to stop, the good times to end. And so Venus really does appreciate quality and endurance in the sign of Taurus. Rather have a little bit of something good that will last a long time rather than something that's just quick and not going to last, which is a little bit more of an Aries, Venus in Aries vibe, where just sort of satisfy my desires now and next, please, whatever those desires may be. So there's certainly a very fecund, a very solid, and a very smooth influence of Venus and Taurus. So think of perhaps maybe, hard liquor, just getting drunk real fast versus the finest and the smoothest top shelf red wine. So Venus in Taurus really does embody the five senses. It's an opportunity to slow down. I mean, Venus in Taurus likes to take her time. So, embodying the five senses, smelling the roses. And this is a chance for all of us to slow down with something in our lives. And this might have something to do with pleasure, slowing down and examining what is it that we actually value now that Venus has undergone a retrograde phase and been through some rough territory. We may have a new understanding of what's important to us, what we value, what's worth fighting for, what we want to hold on to, and to have to endure over time. And so, Venus and Taurus also offers us that opportunity to slow down when the world right now feels like it's forcing us to go faster, to speed things up. If you're not adopting AI, somehow you're going to be some social reject. And Venus will push back on that in Taurus. If it's not what she wants, if it's not what she's available for, she'll just simply say no and refuse to budge. So obviously there's blessing and curse energy there. Every sign and planet placement will have a spectrum of really positive attributes and to the more negative or challenging attributes. And this can be really simple, like just, holding your cup of coffee and just feeling the warmth in your hands, smelling, walking past a beautiful garden and smelling the flowers. Again, listening to music, wearing your favorite perfume or cosmetics or an item of clothing that you would normally only save for a special occasion. So, Venus and Taurus is asking you to indulge in all of those things. Drink the nice wine, cook the lovely meal, have long, slow conversations and connections with things, with people, with experiences that you really treasure and value. So, we have Venus and Taurus till about July 5. So, we get a beautiful, long, month-long phase of slowing down and remembering what pleasure is. And I often think about Venus being the planet that finds joy in the fifth house. And I find this often when I'm consulting with clients or even mentoring students in astrology, that sometimes it's okay to just have a pleasure pursuit, a hobby, a, a, a fun outlet that you do just to enjoy. It doesn't have to be monetized. It doesn't have to be posted on social media. It can just be for you and yours only. I'm in a Venus perfection uh, currently, and one of the things I've been trying to do, I mean, I'm always trying to do this, but one thing that I've really wanted to do just for fun, just for the experience of it all is attend more gigs, more concerts, more music, which is a very Venusian thing, and sort of immersing yourself in that embodied experience of your ribs rattling while those double bass kick drums kick in. So obviously everyone's musical taste is different, but I hope you get the drift there. So, just a few days after Venus arrives in Taurus and sort of smooths the astrological waters out for us, or perhaps a better analogy of that would be some fertile pasture to graze upon, we'll have Jupiter move into Cancer. On astrological paper, it does not get better than this. This is a transit to celebrate to the nth degree. It's a transit that only arrives every 12 years. And I think what makes the arrival of Jupiter in Cancer, as I said, will happen on June 9 and 10 and last until June 30 of 2026. So we get just over a year of Jupiter bringing its best blessings, its best benefits, and a real sense of the tide coming in and raising the boats of which your Cancer house occupies, whatever topic that is for you. Um, the arrival of Jupiter in Cancer, as I said, the best on paper aspect that we have or transit that we have, even better this time around, in my opinion, especially after what we've been through with Mars retrograde in Cancer. So in June, we do have, so we've gone from the worst astrological, subjectively the worst. We've got Mars, a malefic planet, in its sign of fall and retrograde. So definitely, I would say probably one of the most challenging of the detriments, the falls and the retrogrades. Mars in Cancer, I think we could kind of qualify that as one of the worst, almost challenging, almost difficult sign planet placements. I have got a video here on YouTube about that, how sometimes what is on paper the worst isn't all bad. So if you do have Mars in Cancer, check that out. If you are struggling to understand Mars in Cancer and seeing the more positive qualities of that, do check that one out. So I do challenge some of my own my own statements there in that video. So, what we have coming through in June is a double yin influence. So, Venus is occupying Taurus, a yin or feminine sign. So, she's at home and happy there. And then we have Jupiter, the greater benefic, occupying Cancer. Its sign of exaltation and its most raised, its most elevated, its most resourced and promised placement. So we've got this double yin influence that is really permeating throughout June. And then, of course, we get the more lingering features of Jupiter in Cancer for the next year, which is probably a good time to mention that I am giving a webinar on Jupiter in Cancer, or the blessings, the benefits, and the real beautiful, fecund, nourishing growth that this aspect or this feature of the next 12 months promises. So I'll put a link below. You can register for that webinar. I'm so looking forward to it. I'm a Cancerian, so I feel kind of qualified to really talk about this one. And so even if you can't attend the webinar live, everyone gets a copy of the recording. So the link to register for that, it happens Monday morning here, and it will be sort of Sunday evening in the US time zones. So, so yeah, this idea of June being a double yin influence, it really is a step back or a step away from maybe what's happening on the collective front. So, on the collective front, obviously, we're all sort of figuring out what the Uranus in Gemini is going to look like. We're bracing ourselves for impact with that one. We are starting to figure out what Saturn in Aries looks like with Saturn conjoined Neptune in Aries and just what that's looking like for the collective. Very yang, very masculine, very active dynamics. But then we've got the benefics in the yin feminine or passive energies. So this month, June, is a time to sort of step off or away from that proverbial collective grid where what appears to be reigning supreme is data, AI, tech, experts in inverted commas. And this whole cycle, and this is a part of what I'll be exploring in my webinar, is getting back into the body, getting back into the ensouled experience, and gaining your own sense of inner wisdom, inner knowing, inner trust from your five senses, from your intuitive leanings, and the wisdom of what it is to connect to your own knowing, um, rather than outsourcing wisdom or, crowdsourcing wisdom or connecting with Chat GPT. Excuse me, it's a very windy, cold day here in Brisbane. Um, so, or for Brisbane, I should say, not, we're pretty soft up here when the weather turns cold. So, yeah, it's this idea of rather than outsourcing your wisdom to tech, um, trusting it within yourself. So, this is the beautiful, fertile ground where real inner growth, inner knowing, inner wisdom can come from. And this is also the opportunity to remember that life is good. Life is to be celebrated, it's to be lived, even when it may appear at some level that the world is really changing and that the world is maybe not going in a direction that feels very stable, very solid, very secure. What we can really trust in during June and with the lingering influence of Jupiter in Cancer is that trust in faith, trust in yourself, trust in your own inner wisdom. So the energy of the philosopher, the protector, the mother. And so that can be for yourself, self-care, self-nurturing, taking action, making choices that is right for you. If your mood is not conducive to what it is that you want to do, what you want to achieve, there's an opportunity to fix or correct that. Now, the reason why I brought up mood is because what the energy of Venus in Taurus and Jupiter in Cancer have in common is the moon. So Jupiter in Cancer is ruled by the moon, and Venus in Taurus is exalted by the moon. So there's going to be a lot of influences in June and, of course, beyond around the body, the idea of fortune. And that's not necessarily the lotto, but hey, who's going to knock that back if it turns out to be that? But the idea of, as I said, the road rising up to meet you, opportunities coming your way, the general sense of luck, abundance, fortune, gratitude, seeing opportunities where other people might just see problems. That's a really big component of being able to access fortune. Just general abundance. Overall, if you're, sitting in a lovely home drinking a warm cup of tea, that is, historically speaking, so abundant. And being able to be in touch with your needs, whether those are physical, emotional, spiritual, all the needs that we have. And of course, mood is food. So that's a big component as well. So nourishing your body with the right foods, or even foods that are a little bit indulgent and celebratory. So, as Venus in Taurus and Jupiter in Cancer sextile, it's really inviting us to sort of bring two house topics together, dependent on our birth chart and what house topics they are, and asking you, what do you really need to access in order to sort of thrive, to be abundant, to be nourished at many different levels? What does it mean to be embodied and ensouled in this kind of crazy tech world that we're in? So there is a corner of your life, two corners, in fact, where you're being asked to tend to a particular garden in your life. And Venus and Taurus really does remind me of that movie, The Constant Gardener. It was a book, and I read that one, and then the movie came out. And the man kind of solved problems and searched for his wife and protected what he held dear through tending his garden. And so there is that kind of archetype here where what garden are you tending to in your life? Um, and that could be family, it could be your kin, your clan, your body, your health, your finances, your friendships, your relationships. It could be a multitude of things. Look to where Cancer is in your birth chart, and that's going to be a clue. And throughout June, Venus and Taurus is going to be supporting that and helping you perhaps bring it into a more embodied, practical experience as well. So, June, in a sense, is a period of incubation because at the end of June, just after the solstice, we go into the Jupiter cazimi, where Jupiter is renewed with the sun, with the new moon. And honestly, on paper, I don't think we could have a better lunation. So, this is really, as I said at the beginning of the video, such promising land we are all coming across after the prickly Mars retrograde earlier this year, with Venus retrograde as well. So, they were hot off the heels of each other. So, the proverbial garden that you were plucking, pruning, weeding, having to dig up and toil over is now renourished. It's now ready to receive. It's ready to receive the benefits and the blessings of Jupiter. So June is really asking you, what seeds do you want to be planting? Do you want to plant flowers and fruit, or do you want to just plant a beautiful tree? Obviously, I'm speaking proverbially. Maybe I'm not as well. I mean, I do love gardening. So it's time to think about, what area of your life do you really want to see some beautiful results from? Because we only do have Jupiter in Cancer for 1 year, not to return for another 12. So, if you would like to really explore your own proverbial garden and what you can do over the next 12 months to really not only support you for the year that Jupiter's in Cancer, but long after Jupiter leaves, I would love to invite you for my webinar, which is happening, as I said, Monday morning in Australia, and it will be about Sunday evening in the Northern Hemisphere. There'll be a link below where you can find out more about that and register. And I really look forward to sharing some of the insights around Jupiter in Cancer. It's a beautiful, beautiful transit. I think we all need it. And I would love to hear in the comments below, what are you looking forward to bringing in with Jupiter in Cancer? Do you have some concerns about it? Because sometimes Jupiter can make some issues bigger. So, what happened for you last time Jupiter was in Cancer, which was 2013 and 2014? I'd love to hear from you. That's enough from me this week. So, I hope you really do enjoy this benefic bliss. We've certainly earned it, and I'll love to see you in the next podcast. Bye for now.